Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson, a certified broadcast meteorologist here at 13 News Now, which is based in Norfolk, Virginia. We serve southeastern Virginia, including Virginia Beach, all the way down through the Outer Banks in northeastern North Carolina. But what we love about the weather desk is that we get to expand outside of our mid-Atlantic bubble, and we get to encompass stories from around the U.S., also around the world. And on this show, we talk about the most major things happening across the world. So here are the main topics for today. Severe weather has been impacting the U.S. We're talking lots of areas of flooding, even some areas that are here in our local viewing area. Another one we're watching for that we talked about yesterday, the raging wildfires, some out west in the United States, others across the pond in Europe, where the wildfires are really damaging portions of southern and Central Europe. Also, on the flip side, we'll be talking about the tropics because a big update does come tomorrow from the hurricane experts about their mid-season forecast for what they expect to see tropical, in terms of tropical activity for the Atlantic Basin. Now, also here in Hampton Roads, we started yesterday off on a rainy first day of the work week. We do have the risk for rain and storms today, but the good news is that it should be a little bit less rainy soon. I'll break it all down at the end of this show. But first, parts of the U.S. are cleaning up after getting slammed by strong storms yesterday. In Massachusetts, a woman died after a large tree fell on her home in Plymouth. That's about an hour outside of Boston. Officials say she was sitting on her back porch when a strong gust of wind caused the tree to snap. Neighbors found her trapped and tried to save her, but unfortunately, she died at the hospital. In New Jersey, flooding made the morning commute difficult for many people heading into New York City. Heavy rain washed out several roads in Westwood. Much of the tri-state area, including New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, were under a flash flood warning. In North Carolina, Surrey County was placed under a state of emergency after flash flooding caused widespread damage over the weekend. This is a look at the mess left behind in a barbershop. Mount Airy officials say this is the worst flooding the region has seen since the 1970s. We now know the Weather-ott River rose 17 feet in just 3 hours before receding even faster. It crested at 29 feet. Unfortunately, fortunately, no injuries have been reported. Now, staying in North Carolina, but this time a little bit closer to home, parts of NC-12 are almost washed out. This is a look at the conditions near the Bass Knight Bridge in North Carolina around NC-12 South. The North Carolina Department of Transportation is asking drivers to reconsider traveling if you have a low clearance vehicle. You should also slow down, and you should send waves of waves of water into incoming traffic. And you can see that still image of the really heavy rainfall that came through this morning. And again, that brought in that flash flood over the area. Now we're going on to Florida, where a lightning strike sparked a fire in Fort Lauderdale. This is a look at the damage left behind early Monday morning. It appears that the bolt struck electrical wiring on a fence, starting the fire. The heat from the flames was so intense, it melted the bulbs inside of the light fixtures.
We're beyond startled, and it kept like blowing up and like booming again. This house had caught on fire at the firebox, so evidently it traveled in all the wires.
The Homeowners Association is working on getting that damage repaired. So the severe weather threat, is it over, or are we still going to be looking at some stuff around the U.S.? Let's talk about it. Here's today's severe weather outlook. This is our outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, day one, and you can see there are very limited areas of severe weather potential today. So we're going to take it to the desert southwest, where right near the U.S.-Mexico border into southern New Mexico and southern Arizona, there is a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather in that small little little half oval there right near the border, that level 1 extending a little bit further north. And then you get into the Oklahoma Panhandle, Texas Panhandle, heading into the northeastern corner of New Mexico and southern Colorado, where there also is a level 1 risk for severe weather today there. Now, taking it further east, closer to our area, here we are in Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina. There's a bubble of severe weather potential there from Charlotte through Columbia. So Charlotte, North Carolina, down through Columbia, South Carolina, where there's a risk of severe weather. But good news for us here in Hampton Roads, while we do have the risk of thunderstorms, they should stay sub-severe. But on the flip side of that, we could have the potential of potentially seeing some isolated flooding. So down into portions of that same area of the desert Southwest, there are level 1 and 2 risks for flash flood potential, and again, closer to that U.S.-Mexico border. That actually sends all the way up to that same risk area that had the level 1 risk there near the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles through Colorado, that level 1 risk for potential flash flooding. Another area that is actually disassociated with any severe weather opportunity today is Omaha, Nebraska through Chicagoland, where we could see a level 1 or a very low risk of flash flood potential today. And then you see here in Hampton Roads, we're underneath a level 1 risk as well, where any localized flooding could happen in poor drainage and low-lying areas, with those heavy downpours coming later on today. Next, 3 major wildfires are still burning in Washington state. What we know about the man now facing charges in connection with one of them. Welcome back, everyone. Authorities say a man is now charged with arson in connection with one of the wildfires burning in Spokane, Washington, in Spokane County. There are 3 major wildfires burning there now: the Old Trails Fire, the Autumn Lane Fire, and the Fairview Fire. So far, the flames have burned through more than 8,000 acres and are 0% contained. 65,000 people have been ordered to evacuate, and at least 700 buildings have been destroyed. Reed Binion reports.
It's clearly our worst natural disaster in our history.
Spokane, Washington Mayor Lisa Brown underscoring the massive scope of the wildfires tearing through communities in her state. Officials at every level in the state echoing that sentiment.
The impact on people's lives is truly profound.
A lot of anxiety
There's a lot of devastation.
That devastation plain to see from the ground and the sky. Aerial images show before and after pictures. House after house destroyed. Neighborhoods turned into flaming, smoke-filled hellscapes by the 3 major wildfires in Spokane County. Authorities say they have arrested a man on an arson charge in connection with one of the blazes. Since they began on Saturday, the fires have burned through thousands of acres, destroying hundreds of structures. Tens of thousands of people have been forced to evacuate, including many of the brave individuals working to address the emergency.
There are first responders in that room who have been evacuated from their homes, and yet they're still out there dealing with this situation and helping their neighbors.
The fires in Spokane County may be the worst, but they are not the only ones. 17 major wildfires have burned more than 260,000 acres across Washington. One of those blazes forcing ranchers to herd cattle away from the flames. I'm Reed Binion reporting.
It's not just the U.S. dealing with wildfires either. Several European countries are also fighting flames. First, this is a look at the conditions in Greece. Here you can see horses fleeing the flames just outside of Athens. Hundreds of people have been ordered to evacuate, and at least 100 homes have been destroyed. Wildfires are also burning on the islands of Paros and Crete. In the Netherlands, crews are busy battling a wildfire in Limburg. That's near the border of Germany and Belgium. So far, the flames have burned 250 acres, forcing the province to suspend train service. Finally, here's a look at the crews dropping water over wildfires in central Italy. This is the mountainous Abruzzo region. Other regions, including the Sardinia and Calabria, are also dealing with similar conditions. The fires sparked as the country faced its 4th heat wave of the summer. On Monday, at least 25 cities were on red alert due to dangerous temperatures. And the heat wave and dry conditions are fueling those flames. Here's a look at the temperatures overseas today, and you can see that as they hit the afternoon, we're talking temperatures in the mid 80s and upper 80s, which is already hot for some of these areas, but we're already talking temperatures in portions of Central and Eastern Europe in the mid to upper 90s and triple digits. Right now, it's 100 degrees in Budapest, 97 in Munich, 88 in Warsaw, 95 degrees now in Thessaloniki, 93 degrees in Athens, where there is an active wildfire close to Athens at this point. Even as you head into Western Europe, in Madrid, Spain, we're in the low 90s. Geneva, we're in the low 90s as well. Another hot day in Paris with upper 80s. So Europe is facing one of their hottest summers on record as some of these temperatures climb to the triple digits, really closer to 104 to 105 degrees just this past June. And it seems like the relief is not in sight quite yet. Again, these are conditions that are fueling those flames. So we'll make sure to keep you updated with more information about the wildfires overseas. Next, the tropics are quiet right now, but peak hurricane season is just about a month away. The update forecasters are expected to give tomorrow. Welcome back, everyone. With just about a month to go until peak hurricane season, which is right around September the 10th, the tropics are quiet right now. Every year ahead of hurricane season, Colorado State University experts release their predictions for how many named storms we could see. Now, Colorado State University experts released those predictions in May and then tweaked them again in June and July. So here's a look at what they said around June 10th. And in June 10th, they had named storms at about 11 for this hurricane season, about 5 hurricanes, and of that, around 2 major hurricanes, which is below normal for where we should be. In a typical hurricane season, we should usually see around 14 named storms in that year and about 3 or so major hurricanes. But with June's outlook, after what was a very quiet start to the hurricane season in those first couple of weeks, they dropped it from a slightly below normal average, where we were expecting around 13 to 14 named storms, down to 11. Then, because of still a very quiet season where we've only had 2 named storms so far, in their July 8th update, the CSU experts dropped that again to 9 named storms in the Atlantic Basin, 4 hurricanes, and only 1 major hurricane. Now, they're expected to give an update tomorrow, as we could see maybe even them reaffirming that it will stay around the single-digit numbers, or we could maybe see them even lowering those expectations as we begin in August. This is usually when we start to see tropical activity ramp up, and we really have been extremely quiet here in the Atlantic, which is good news. But remember that it only takes 1 major event from hurricane season to make it a memorable season. If you think about last year, we had a very quiet season here in the United States. It took Hurricane Melissa during the October timeframe, when it unfortunately devastated parts of Jamaica, to remind people that, again, it only takes 1 named storm. Remember, Melissa is one of the strongest hurricanes to ever form in the Atlantic Basin, as it made landfall as a Category 5 storm on the western sides of the island of Jamaica. Of course, our thoughts are still with those in Jamaica who are still cleaning up after that mess of Melissa rolling through the island. Now, again, tropic season is off to a very slow start. Only 2 named storms, both of those making landfall in the United States. But we are expected to get, again, an update on whether the experts at CSU will either keep these numbers the same or lower them. I would be very surprised if they go back on their lowering of the numbers and actually bring them up, but they'll give us an explanation tomorrow as to why they will lower them. Now let's take a live look outside and look at the unsettled weather. We have cloudy skies for portions of the area. Right now, some blue skies trying to break through, but don't let that fool you. We do have rain still in the forecast for today. I'll have the Tuesday forecast for Hampton Roads and what to expect for the rest of the week. That's coming up in 2 minutes. Welcome back. With the rainfall we had this morning, parts of NC-12 are almost washed out. This is a look at the conditions near the Bass Knight Bridge on NC-12 South. The North Carolina Department of Transportation is asking drivers to reconsider traveling if you have a low clearance vehicle. You should also slow down as you could send waves of water into oncoming traffic. All of that was due to the heavy rainfall we had this morning, on top of the fact that we had a flood advisory and a flash flood warning for that area as heavy rainfall came through the Outer Banks on your Tuesday morning. Now the rainfall continues for us here in Hampton Roads later on today. I know I said the Outer Banks and people are probably wondering, hey, you're saying the Outer Banks, but we didn't get any rainfall this morning. And you're absolutely right. We stay dry for the majority of the area, but the rainfall is coming later on today. So here's what I'm tracking with our weather headlines. The humidity is back, and it's back like it never left. We are going to be watching for what is going to be a humid stretch of weather from now through at least early next week. That will make it feel so uncomfortable outside. That high humidity paired with temperatures rising later on this week will push feels like temperatures to the triple digits, but it also will fuel some heavy downpours today. Rain chances, though, will actually diminish later on this week. The good news is the front that I mentioned yesterday actually got a little bit of a push and a move on. So now it's sitting over Hampton Roads, and it will eventually fizzle out, making us return back to a typical summertime pattern. But we're hotter next week, as I just mentioned. Temperatures will climb into the low to mid 90s as we begin next work week. So be prepared for that higher heat and higher humidity. Here's that cold front now draped over Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina, kind of slicing through the peninsula, through the south side. Anything south of that is where all of this rain is concentrated. And you can see here that the rainfall continues for the Carolina coast. Now, for again, most of our area, we are fairly dry, where you can see a few isolated showers as you zoom in closer to Emporia. But the rest of the area, I mean, this is just radar scatter. That's not even raindrops. So we are very clear here on the south side and up through the peninsulas. Now we still have that active flood advisory. It was supposed to go through 9 a.m., but apparently it seems like they actually extended this, and I think it's because of that water that is over the Bass Knight Bridge there on NC-12. So just be careful between Rodanthe and Salvo heading up closer to Nags Head there. Right now, though, as you see, the radar beam is sweeping around, not picking up on any rainfall coming through at the moment. Again, that flood potential I showed you earlier is encompassing all of our viewing area. We're underneath a level 1 out of 4 risk for flash flood potential today, as any heavy downpours could lead to localized or flash flooding, as we saw around the Outer Banks this morning, for any poor drainage or low-lying areas. So be careful. Here's a look at what to expect for the rest of the day as we continue through the late morning into the early afternoon. We're going to see increased cloud cover. Highs today will be a bit cooler than were yesterday. We're only going to make it into the low to mid 80s around the eastern half of the viewing area. Heading west will be in the mid to upper 80s, so it will be a warm day closer to I-95. Showers and thunderstorms will pop up during the afternoon and evening, and they will just continue. As you see, heavy downpours in the mix here, not underneath any severe weather risk, but we do have the opportunity to see a few thunderstorms that could produce some lightning, heavy downpours, a few gusty winds. Temperatures will drop off into the upper 70s and low 80s by 5 p.m. with the rainfall coming through. The rain for the evening time will diminish around 10 o'clock or so tonight, but I'm watching for another round of rain to roll through earlier tomorrow morning that could bring some wet conditions for the morning commute. The good news is, though, is even with the rainfall in the morning, we still have the opportunity to see some sunshine during the mid to late morning, continuing during the afternoon. Rain chances will be lower tomorrow than today. Temperatures tomorrow morning will start off in the mid to upper 70s. By the afternoon, we're going to make it into the upper 80s, near 90 degrees. Remember that humidity is still going to be elevated, so it will still feel more like the triple digits as we get closer to the afternoon for some areas. The rest of the area feeling more like the mid to upper 90s. And you can see this trend of the rainfall going downhill as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Friday, Saturday will be our driest days of the next 7 as we return to a more typical summertime pattern early next week, Sunday, Monday, and then even into Tuesday. But we do have that higher humidity in place. And here's a look at that humidity in that excessive range for us here in Hampton Roads and northeastern North Carolina. And with that temperature rise by the end of the week, feels like temperatures again in those triple digits, especially as you get into Friday, Saturday, and early next week, where temperatures will be closer to the mid-90s. So the really nice weather we had at the end of last week, nowhere in the picture for us at all. We will be seeing that typical summertime heat and humidity with the opportunity for showers and thunderstorms. Your 5 to 7 day forecast shows temperatures will be in the mid-80s today, with the afternoon showers and thunderstorms coming right during the peak heat, which will probably limit our heat for today. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are most likely today compared to all the rest of the work week and even the first half of the weekend. Again, those thunderstorms pick up around noon to 1 p.m. today and continue through the evening time. We have the opportunity for isolated to scattered showers tomorrow morning, and then we could maybe see an opportunity for an isolated thunderstorm during the afternoon. But we jump to the upper 80s tomorrow, which is closer to normal. Our normal high temperature for early August is around 88 degrees. On Thursday, though, we surpass that. We're back into the low 90s here in Hampton Roads and northeastern North Carolina, even climbing a degree or two by Friday, but we dry out. So I will say your best opportunity to get in some beach time will be Friday and Saturday of this week. Looking ahead to next week, you can see that our summertime pattern returns with isolated afternoon thunderstorms possible on Sunday and Monday, and highs by Monday will climb into the mid-90s. For more news, weather, and traffic, you can always download the 13 News Now app on your phone. Scan the QR code to get to the app on the Apple Store or Google Play. Remember that it's free to download. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Weather Desk. I will be back again tomorrow to wrap up all the biggest weather headlines happening here in Hampton Roads, throughout the United States, and across the world as we continue to track some of the most severe weather across the area.